My name is Cherie Harris, and I am the General Manager of 1017 The Truth.
And how are you feeling today? Because this is your first day back. I know it has been a long day, probably full of a lot of hellos, how you doing?
Yeah.
So how are you feeling in this moment right now?
You know, I feel really good. I feel excited, anxious at the same time, tired at the same time, but I say the homecoming has been beautiful, and the love and support that I've seen throughout the day has made it worth it, you know. Yeah.
So now let's talk about the reason why you were gone for about 2 months. But I kind of want to frame it as far as breast cancer, right? We all know about it. Mm-hmm. We've all heard things about it. But what did you know about breast cancer beforehand? And like, was it in your family, or did you have any preconceived notions about it? Like, oh, I wonder like how people get that?
That's all a great question. So for me, I've been exposed to breast cancer through friends and family for years. So it didn't scare me when I received the diagnosis, but I was upset, like, oh my gosh, now this happened to me. I worked, prior to being general manager, I did work in the medical field where I actually had to sell pathology inks and radiographic clips to breast surgeons who do intraoperative surgery to uncover breast cancer, to look for those margins and make sure they're all clear. So I had a lot of education about breast cancer prior to my diagnosis and learning that they are tumors. But to someone who has not had that exposure, it's very scary and upsetting, you know? So for me, I was just like, okay, I have this, what's next? What are you gonna do to help me through this disease? That was my first response to it.
And what kind of breast cancer?
I have one of the most aggressive types of breast cancer, which is triple negative breast cancer. And that just means that my proteins are not binding, you know, my lymph nodes can't kill it. It can spread, the markers can spread rapidly throughout your body if you don't take care of it quickly. And for me, I'm at stage 2, grade 3, which means that the breast cancer was in my ducts, you know, my breast, but it spread to my lymph nodes. And that's how I found it. I didn't find it on my breast. I actually found it under my armpit, and it spread. And if I didn't take care of it as soon as I discovered it, who knows where I would be today.
Right.
Yeah.
So take me back to when you did discover it, and what was your thought process with that of how, because did you think that that's what it could have been, or you just were like, hey, what is this here? Let me go get it checked out.
The first thing that probably indicated that I may have something going on there was I had tingling in my fingers at night, as if my hand would fall asleep every night. And so I thought maybe I have carpal tunnel, because, you know, we're always on the computer. And so I knew I was up for a mammogram, and I was like, well, it's time for me to do my self-breast exam in the shower, and I did, and I didn't find anything. And then I just so happened to rub under my right arm, and I'm like, oh, there's a bump there, and there's not one under my left arm. So then I had my husband check, you know, like, can you just rub under my arm? Do you feel something? He said, yeah. I said, well, I'll just have the doctor take a look at it. Who knows? It could be part of carpal tunnel. And that was the first indication that I knew something was wrong. And in the back of my mind, I was like, what if this is cancer? Because it's too close to the breast. But I'm waiting for them to tell me. I'm not going to assume. And that was the first indication. Something's going to change.
How soon after finding it did you go into the doctor?
2 weeks. I just, you know, made my appointment and say, hey, I want to come in for my physical exam. And I did. And I went through the exam and everything checked out fine as far as your physical exam goes. She checked my breast. She goes, everything's fine. Just make sure you schedule a mammogram. And I sat there for a minute and I didn't get off the table. And I said, you know, I need you to check under my arm because there's a lump there, but it's not under my left arm. So she did check and she's like, I think we're gonna need to do a diagnostic mammogram. So let me put that order in. And if I didn't speak up, I'm sure they would have discovered it, but it probably would have taken longer because it wasn't a diagnostic mammogram, because there are different types.
So when you took that mammogram that they said they needed for you, and then you got the results back. Did you find out right away, or how soon did you find out?
No, I didn't find out right away. So normally a mammogram would take probably 30 minutes of your life. The breast is pressed on the machine, and they did that. But then I had to go to another room, and they had to do another exam. Then I had to go back into another room, and then they do a diagnostic exam. At that point, I was in tears because I said, no, this is not normal. I've had mammograms in the past, and I'm usually in and out. And so in my mind, I was like, yeah, they found something. But it was not confirmed until the next day, and I had to come back for a biopsy. And when you have a biopsy, and when I heard the time, 7:30, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I knew they found cancerous cells because they were calling out where the cells were placed clockwise in my breast. And
so what were you thinking? Like during that process, even just that day that it took, or you went the next day, and even while it was taking longer and longer that next day, what were you thinking about how you would handle the situation?
I laid on that table and I just thought back to my girls, I was crying. I just thought about like everything as a mom, like all the things that all the memories just started coming to surface, them being little babies and growing up and me being a mom. And then I'm like, what am I gonna do? I could tell they found something, and the tears just kept coming down. And then I didn't know. At that point, I was just like, I need them to tell me. I need confirmation. I kind of know what they're gonna tell me, but I need to hear it and I need to see it. And that's all I kept thinking about on that table.
So when they did tell you you kind of already knew, but after they did, it was confirmed, what were you thinking?
I saw the x-rays, and one breast looked fine and then one looked like Christmas lights. And when I saw the Christmas lights, she said, you have breast cancer. And I sat there and I was like, first I said, what the fuck? Are you, what? And she's like, you have breast cancer. And I just sunk in the chair and I started crying. And I was just like, how could this, like, are you serious? I studied breast cancer. I know what the signs are. And I have this disease. And I probably cried probably hard for like 3 minutes. And then I stopped. I said, so what are we gonna do about it? What's the plan? Because at that point, I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I have it. I can't wish it away. I can't say why it's me. And we really don't know what caused breast cancer. So what are we gonna do about it? And that was where my mind went after that. I waited to tell my family. My husband already knew what was going on. I waited to tell my girls because tragedy did strike at the same time. At that time my stepdaughter passed away a couple of weeks prior to me finding out we had breast cancer. So I was really more focused on her and my husband and how we're gonna handle that. And after that was over, I sat them down and I told them what was going on. But I didn't say, hey, I have breast cancer and I don't know what we're gonna do. And I need you guys to start doing this and this and this. We got a plan for the end of the road. I was like, hey, I have breast cancer and I need you guys to be in this with me. So I'm gonna be going to a lot of appointments and I just wanna make sure you guys make sure your stuff is taken care of so I can take care of our stuff. And that's how I took it. That's how I communicate that I have breast cancer.
How did they initially take it? Like, were they optimistic? Obviously, I would hope so. Or what were they kind of thinking as far as what the next steps would look like?
They cried. My husband cried. He tried to tell her. He tried to tell my youngest, and he couldn't. She just started crying, and he couldn't do it. And I was like, you have one job. What are you doing? You have one job to tell her. And so I walked in and I just allowed her to cry. And I said, feel all your feels right now because I'm gonna need you to be strong with me. We can cry about it or we can thrive through this. And I'm gonna need you to help me with that. because right now my tears are not gonna make it go away. That's exactly what I said. My oldest is already going through her own issues because she dealt with COVID, lost her senior year, her freshman year, part of her sophomore year in college. I didn't know how to tell her. She's already dealing with her own stuff. So I waited a week or two to let her know when she was home from school, and I explained to her that, hey, they discovered some tumors in my breast. It's breast cancer, but the appointment's already set up. We got a plan in place, and I just need you to be strong with me. Because I just figure how I present it to them is how they're going to respond to me. And I was done giving cancer my tears at that point. I just like, no, you can't take any of this from me. And it hurt. I was more concerned about their response versus how I'm going to respond to this cancer. It was more about them than about me. And I had the wise me, I had the curse out conversation with Jesus and all this stuff, like, really? This is what you're gonna do after everything that we've gone through? But then what are you gonna do? You can't wish it away, you just gotta fight it. And that's what we did.
So once you realized, all right, this is what we're doing, and what are the next steps and what the process was, what was that process? What did they tell you was gonna have to go on?
So the plan is an aggressive plan. I mean, triple negative breast cancer, that's probably one of the worst. I mean, cancer is bad in general, but that is the hardest to fight. So the oncology team, the hospital sets you over to oncology team. You have your oncologist, your breast surgeon, your plastic surgeon, your radiologist, and your nurse, and all those in between, including your primary care doctor. And they show you your labs. They tell you what they are and educate you what cancer is and how, to what degree it is, stage 1 through 4. And that's what they talked to me about. And then they also talked about how we're going to handle it. The chemo, the type of chemo, radiation, chemo pills, exercise, everything that goes along with that plan. For me, I just decided to join the research plan, and I had to go through all these tests to do that. Because I figured, you know, there's a set plan in place, but I want to be part of the research because I want more women like me to respond to this treatment and hopefully have a positive outcome. So more women like me will be more active about their care and be advocates for their care and follow that same plan. That's what happened to start. It's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did have to have surgery.
Yes.
Do you mind talking about what the surgery was for and how your recovery was with that?
Yes. So I had to have a right breast mastectomy, which means that there are a couple choices with that. You can do chest to wall and be flat and not have a breast at all, or you can do implants, or you could do tissue banking, which they'll take tissue from your stomach or your thigh and create a new breast for you. And the doctor will talk to you about what that means, what's the best type for you. And for me, I decided to do tissue banking because I didn't want a foreign object in my body. I didn't want to come back 10 years later and have them take a look at it and say, okay, we need to change it or it looks good. I was tired of them poking me. I was like, look, the minimum touching you do, the better. So they did do the surgery. It was 9 hours of surgery, 9 hours being under. And a lot can go wrong in those 9 hours. And it wasn't just about the breast, it was about the lymph nodes. Because if the lymph nodes had cancer, I had cancer all on my right side. And if chemo did not respond well, if I didn't respond well to the chemo, they will have to remove my lymph nodes. And when you do that, there's swelling, there's pain throughout your life because now you don't have lymph nodes there. Luckily, I responded well to the chemo. It was microscopic when they did the surgery. It was minimal on my breast, so when they removed the breast and created a new breast from my thigh, they used the tissue from the thigh to create the new breast. And they're not symmetrical, but there's something there to make me feel like me. And so it's painful. The recovery is painful. I can't describe the pain because I was drugged up for a couple of days, but it's a long recovery. Yeah.
Talk about the overall journey so far, because I'm sure it is a continued journey.
Yeah.
how would you describe it?
Emotionally, it's taxing. I believe mind over matter. You really have to be positive through the process. You can really go down a rabbit hole and become depressed, and that can hinder your recovery because you don't want to move, you don't want to leave your house or be around people, and that slows you down. So for me, it was very important to be around people who support me first, help take care of me, and just be active as much as I can. And that really helped me in my recovery process. Because you're going to go through I went through physical therapy. I'm going through radiation. I had to learn how to reach my arm behind my head. It was at a point, there's so much pain, and you have drains coming from your breast and a drain coming from my thighs, so I could barely move. I had to roll out of bed. I had to crawl sometimes to the next room because it hurt so bad. But the more I move, the better healing. It hurts, but you have to keep moving. You have to tell yourself, what I'm gonna live for today? What is important to me today? Okay, is it important for me to make scrambled eggs? Well, I'm gonna work myself to make scrambled eggs. Is it important for me to walk out of my house to the backyard? Well, I'm gonna gather up the strength to do that. That's how you have to think, else you're not gonna make it.
What were some words or just acts of kindness that you received from your family or just anyone who was there for you during that time while you were at home? Like, what were some of those words or some acts that you really appreciated? Was it the food?
Yes.
Because I know it could be hard to get some food.
It was the food, I'm not gonna lie. So my family, we joke around a lot. So they kept me laughing, and that was key for me. And they kept things as normal as possible. So then I lost my hair and everything, and they would walk around saying, "Wakanda forever, Mom, Wakanda forever." And I'm like, what? You guys have jokes. And that was like the funniest thing I've ever heard. And we just joke around, and they're like, "You need to sit still," or they tease me. And it was all in love. And they helped me in the kitchen a lot and with our dog and stuff. And my husband was very helpful. He went to every chemo treatment, every single one. He refused to miss them. Packed snacks, entertainment. Sometimes like, let's just get away for the weekend. And that's what we did. And then, my friends were very helpful too. Love text messages. Someone sent me a blanket out of the blue, gift baskets. One of my stores set up a dinner. Every Monday, I'll get dinner from Baked Dreams, so I wouldn't have to cook. Oh, that food was so good. I'm telling you, that lady was amazing. She would drop it off at my house with an inspirational love note and saying, "We're here for you. Enjoy this meal." And that meant everything to me.
What about the support from all your coworkers here at Good Karma Brands? They definitely did go hard for you this entire time. So how did that make you feel? Because that's not often the case with people and where they work, where their entire company is, fighting with them. So how did that make you feel?
I was actually surprised. I'm going to be honest, because one, I don't want to be a burden to anybody. And so I felt like, sometimes it's weird because you feel like you're disappointing people when you're not feeling well and you can't live up to that ability to do your job. But I didn't feel like that here. Like, everybody was so, honestly, just so supportive, just checking on me every day when I show up. How you feeling today? We're here for you. Can I get you anything? The GKB Thrive Through shirts. Oh, that's so incredible. And just, having events in my honor to support breast cancer and those who are affected by it. I didn't expect that. I really expect us to come into work today and pick up where I left off. But to come in with a welcome sign and a greeting like that, I have no words. I have no words. It's great, honestly.
So Thrive Through.
Yeah.
Did you decide to use those two words to describe what you were going through, or, coined that as your mantra for this entire journey?
It was very intentional. A friend of mine is going through the same thing I'm going through. She was diagnosed at stage 4 a couple of weeks before I was. And I saw her message on Facebook and how she just, her positive glow was impressive to me. And I was like, I can't believe she's going through this. And she's laughing about it and making jokes about it and just making people feel good that she's okay with her diagnosis. So I did reach out to her and like, how are you doing that? Because I haven't told anybody. And I just need help with this. I don't know how to let people know about it. I gotta let them know. And she's like, just be open about it, be comfortable with it, and you're gonna help somebody. Just putting it out there, you never know who you're gonna help. I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm gonna do. So one morning, I woke up and I did a Facebook message about what I was going through. That I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. It was October 1st, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I did that on purpose. And as I'm talking about what I'm dealing with, I'm like, I'm gonna thrive through this. And I say that because it's not gonna defeat me. It's not who I am. It's something that happened to me, and I'm going to thrive through it, which means I'm going to continue to live. I'm going to continue to enjoy my life. I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to continue to be happy because that's my healing. That's who I am. I've never been like, pity me, woe is me, feel sorry for me. Hi, my name is Cherie and I have cancer. That's not going to be me. You're not going to get that from me. If you guess it, you guess it. If I choose to tell you, I choose to tell you. But each day is not promised, as we know. So I'm going to make the best of it and thrive through it. And that's why I use that term.
What has this challenge taught you about yourself and just life in general?
What it's taught me is that, honestly, I feel like I could do anything and fight anything. Taught me to be patient with myself and my healing, because I am an impatient person sometimes. I feel like I could just rip the Band-Aid off and keep going, but I can't. But it also brought, I know this is strange, but it brought me peace, because I became more aware about my life, my lifestyle choices, how I respond to things, how I respond to my girls, my family. And I needed some change. I needed to make some important changes. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that I live a very long time. It also taught me about acceptance of death. It's gonna happen. We don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's going to happen. So we have to be prepared for it. And that's the conversation we're having now, how to prepare for that next chapter. So we don't want to leave anything behind that's stress for our kids based on our choices. So we're going to make the best of this next chapter.
So what are you looking forward to, just moving forward? What are your own personal next steps?
Immediately, I'm going out of the country. Immediately, we're going to travel and enjoy and celebrate all the milestones that we missed over the past year. Next steps would be just to reevaluate, like I said, our lifestyle, enjoy the fruits of our labor, and just relax. We know work is work. It's not going to go anywhere. The emails are going to keep coming through. Even at midnight, you can't respond to everything right away. People just need to be patient with you. So I'm just hoping people will exercise patience with me, and I'm going to do the same. I'm really going to smell the roses this time.
And do you have any words of encouragement for anyone else who might be at that initial first step, or they might be exactly where you are, or if they know somebody who might be in your shoes? What words of advice would you have for them?
I would say don't ignore it, because that's the worst thing you can do. You have insurance. Take advantage of it and go see your doctor and make sure that they are working in the best interest of you. That is their job. If you don't like what they're doing, if you don't like what you're hearing, ask questions, get a second opinion. Secondly is insurance does dictate your healthcare some type of way. It did for me. So question it. If there's a doctor you don't like, the care you're not receiving, make sure you follow up on that and get better care. As far as encouragement goes, I would say continue living. Don't stop doing what you're doing because now you have this diagnosis. No one said that you can't continue to work, you can't continue to work out, you can't continue to go to events. You can still do all those things, just give yourself time to do it. And just be patient with yourself, because chemo is hard. That's probably one of the hardest things someone can ever go through because it kills the living cells in your body. So the best thing you can do is replenish those things by drinking water, just eating the right foods, and just make sure you have the best support system around you to give you positive encouragement, because then that's going to make you want to keep going to the end. And just take care of yourself. It really is one day at a time. It really is.
Do you have any last words that you want to say that I didn't ask?
I would like to say, for those of us that are going through breast cancer, don't look at this as the end to your life. Just look at it as a new beginning and another chance to reset and start over. That's it.
We are done.